Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, A Conversation with Death. The man who rules the world and the angel of darkness take on a horde of demons in this inaugural John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, A Conversation with Death for 99 cents on Kindle or in paperback today. One of my viewers who watched my video talking about the Trader Joe's mass shooting asked me what that young man should have done instead of participating in that shooting rampage. Now, before this young man participated in that shooting rampage at that Trader Joe's, he got into an argument with the single grandmother who raised him over turning on two different television sets. And what this young man could have done instead of arguing with that grandmother was this. He should have just turned off the televisions and then just went and left the house. Because when you are in someone else's house, you have to live by their rules. Now, this young 27-year-old man just did not know how to problem solve, and he did not know how to navigate through his emotions. And because he had gotten angry, he had went and decided to shoot his grandmother, who had probably been nagging and needling him and finding ways to emasculate him over the last couple of years. Because when it comes down to many of the single mothers and single grandmothers, what they want to do is they want to try to maintain power and control over a young man by using their mouth. And they will verbally abuse a man in the hopes of maintaining a codependent relationship with him. And they use these reactions in the efforts to continue to make themselves out to be the abuser and the victim. And what they want to do is continue to have you going back and forth with them. And when you respond to this type of female and not react to them, you can have an impact on situations that benefit yourself. And that's why I say this young man should have just conceded, said, okay, these are your televisions, I will turn the televisions off, and then just go get out of the house. Just you and him and his girlfriend just leave that residence, because it is her residence, and start talking about making plans to get your own place. Because as I stated before in a previous video telling men how to deal with domineering and emasculating females, the only solution you have to deal with this type of difficult, disrespectful female is you have to leave their residence. And that's the only way you can deal with this female. And as a 27-year-old man who was having a girlfriend, he was going to have problems with that 76-year-old grandmother, because she saw this man making changes in his life to become his own man. And when it comes down to many of these single mothers and single grandmothers, what they want to do is attach an emotional hose to a boy. And they want that emotional hose to stay on that boy when he becomes a man, so he can basically take care of her in her old age. However, what happens with many of these women is they don't understand that these boys have to grow up to become men, and they have to go out and be interdependent men with their girlfriends who will eventually become their wives. They have to go out and become their own men. And what happens is these women, because they they don't have a man of their own, try to make the son or the grandson into some sort of surrogate man who is supposed to take care of their needs. But this effort to make the boy into the surrogate man, again, arrests his development and keeps him at a mental state of a child. Now, the old woman wants the boy to remain a child, but he has to grow up to become a man, because once that woman dies, he has to go out and make efforts to meet his own needs. But many in the black community, and many black single mothers and single mothers in general, they don't want their boys to grow up to become men, because many of them have issues with men, because their relationships with men have been complete failures. And because their relationships with men have become complete and absolute failures, what they do is they sabotage
their sons and grandsons' growth. And any guy out here has to understand this, and they have to start planning, again, their way out to get away from this woman, because this woman is toxic, and this woman is going to keep you from actualizing your potential, because she'll have no problem with you if you are sitting in her house playing video games and watching TV and being a child. But once you start making efforts to become a man, that's when she starts to get angry, because you remind her of the boyfriend she had, you remind her of that baby daddy, you remind her of that ex-husband, and she thinks about you like that ex-husband, that baby daddy, or that man, and she's up fearing that you're going to abandon her in the same way that that ex-husband, that baby daddy, or that boyfriend did. And what she doesn't understand is your leaving is not the same as that man was, because your leaving is supposed to be a natural thing. A boy, once he becomes a man, is supposed to leave his mother's house, because that's what it says in the Bible. When a man marries his wife, the two are supposed to become one, and the wife is supposed to cleave to her husband. So he's supposed to leave the house. Unfortunately, because many of these single mothers and these single grandmothers have been made mentally ill by their failed relationships, they can't see how they're damaging their sons and their grandsons by insisting that they do things their way and not supporting them in their growth. Again, when you have a healthy father or a healthy grandfather in the home, he's going to sever that emotional hose and insist that that boy start working towards getting his own and supporting him in getting his own, because he knows that's the only way that that boy can become a man. But there's other ways that a guy can do this, and he's going to have to be a little bit more covert, because when it comes down to these females, like these single mothers, they don't want to see you grow. So you're going to have to do things under the table, and you're going to have to not do illegal things, but you're going to have to keep things in private. You're not going to have to, you can't really talk about too much when you're going out here making your plans to make your move. You're going to have, a lot of guys, what they have to do is they're going to have to try to find themselves a job, and they're going to have to start laying out a plan for where they want to go in that job, and they're going to have to start stacking chips. They're going to have to start saving a lot of money, because you're going to need a plan to get your own place, because that's the ultimate goal a guy should have when he's dealing with this type of female. You cannot sit there and get into it with her, because when you get into it with her, what happens is she starts to get you into her cycle of codependency, where if you argue with her, she will make herself out to be the victim of things when she is actually the instigator of things. And you really have to, again, bite your tongue and walk away, and then come up with a comprehensive plan for where you want to go to get your own place, because that's your ultimate goal. You're going to have to, if you're not in school, you're going to have to go to school, and if you have education, you're going to have to start going out here and looking for work, and you're going to have to start working on building your investment, saving your money, and working towards building a foundation for a deposit on an apartment or a down payment on a home of your own, because once you get your own, then you don't have to live by the rules of a domineering, emasculating female. You can live life on your terms, and if you keep your nose clean, you'll be able to keep your own home and maintain your own residence. And this is something a lot of guys in single mother households, they don't think that critically about this situation. They go out here and get into these arguments with their mothers and grandmothers, not understanding, again, this is what these women want to do because they want to maintain their power in a situation. And again, because women are the masters of oral combat, what they do is they maintain power by using their mouths. the way you take their power away is by not arguing with them at all. It's just like when I was watching an Equisi 100 video, and he was talking about why you don't argue with women. And I talked about it myself in Stop Simping in the workplace. You just don't argue with women. You lay out a plan for what you want to do, and then you go out and do it. That's the only way you can deal with an argumentative, difficult female, is to create a concrete plan for yourself, follow that concrete plan for yourself, and make efforts to move yourself forward. Now, in your efforts to move yourself forward, yes, you are going to run into a lot of resistance because, again, a lot of people like seeing a man at the bottom of the world because it gives them a sense of value. As long as there's a bottom, there's a floor for them, and they can feel safe about their place in the world. And when they see a guy in a single mother household who is playing video games and is struggling, they feel comfortable in and of themselves. But once you start making efforts to rise and build yourself up, again, that's when you're going to have people talking greasy to you, telling you you shouldn't go to school, this school is stupid, this is a bad school, this, you shouldn't do this. Or you're going to have people, coming at you and saying things like, you shouldn't go and do this, that's dumb. Or you're going to have friends that are going to say, you're acting white. But you have to tune those people out and persevere towards the goal you're going to pursue, because you are the only person who can take care of yourself. You are the only person who can meet your own needs. And you are the only one who can work towards what you want to accomplish. These people who are around you, friends, family members, they don't want to see you succeed because they want to keep those emotional hoses attached to you, and they want to keep you in that codependent relationship where they can give you crumbs from their table and dictate to you, but they don't want to see you dictate for yourself. And you having power over yourself is something that terrifies them, because once you start making decisions and choices for yourself, that means that their life situation is going to have to change, because they're going to have to deal with you having power. And that's something a lot of women and a lot of other people around you, they have a hard time dealing with, the fact that you are going to be on the same level as they are. You can look them dead in the eye, and you can make decisions about who you want to be and not be this person at the bottom of the world. Because when it comes down to many of these single mothers, they like having people at the bottom because it gives them that position of power. And when they see their sons making efforts to start standing up, they want to knock them down. And that's why they'll do things, again, like I said in the previous video, that are passive aggressive, like destroying your clothes that you have to go to work in, or doing things like insisting you turn off a computer when you're on the internet, or locking you out of the house, or all sorts of stuff in the efforts to passive aggressively discourage you from making efforts to improve yourself. But you have to continue to persevere towards improving yourself, because you have to see a better life for yourself. And part of making that better life for yourself is knowing, again, how to navigate through your emotions, knowing how to tune people out, knowing how to not listen to shaming language, knowing how not to argue with people, and knowing how to leave people behind who are toxic, because toxic people, they don't want to see you grow. What they want to do is consume you with their toxicity and keep you at the bottom of the sediment, at the bottom of their toxic pool. As long as you're at the bottom, they feel like they have some sort of worth or some sort of semblance of worth. And many boys from single mother households just don't see how their mothers and grandmothers go out of their way to impede their growth, hinder their development, and prevent them from becoming men, because these women are uncomfortable at the idea of seeing their son become a man, just like the man who left them. And they don't want to see their son become a man just like the man who left them, because that would mean that they would have to actually be on their own and take responsibility for themselves in an interdependent way. But the only way to be healthy is for people to become interdependent, because interdependent people can meet their own needs and help meet the needs of the others, whereas codependent people can't meet anybody's needs because they are in this vicious cycle of victim and abuser. And when you are in a vicious cycle of victim and abuser, no one can grow, no one can change, no one can become a better person, because this codependent cycle continues to go on. And that's what happened to that black man at Trader Joe's who participated in that mass shooting. What happened was he allowed this woman's verbal and emotional abuse to make him get emotional. He wound up exploding in a rage. And now he's stuck in a codependent cycle where he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life for the murder of that store manager and the attempted murder of his grandmother. And again, all of this could have been avoided if he knew how to navigate through his emotions, just turn those televisions off, and then start laying a concrete plan for how he was going to leave his mother's home and then take himself and possibly his girlfriend and then live the adult life he would want to live as a man. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.